If you are the spouse of a Wall Street professional in New York City, or for that matter, any other financial services center in the world, chances are unexpectedly one day your spouse will come up to you and go, they're between jobs. That's okay, you think. After all these big bonuses, summer in the Hamptons, skiing in Aspen, that condo in Tribeca, they must know what they're doing. But wait a minute, why are they telling you finances are tight and that it's hard to find a job in this economy? He or she must know that you cannot maintain your lifestyle on your job alone. And with the 2 kids and the third one coming, they must have a better plan. Welcome to Wall Street. Hi, I'm Shalabh Garg, 25-year professional of Wall Street. I've had jobs at a bank, at a hedge fund. I currently own my own hedge fund. In today's podcast, we will cover what it is like to be the spouse of that Wall Street professional, how to manage that volatility, how to control that volatility, how to manage that family circumstances. As I mentioned in one of my previous podcasts, a big chunk of a Wall Street professional's compensation comes in the form of year-end bonuses. If you're going to get paid 70 to 80% of your total compensation at the end of the year, you will anticipate at some level what that may look like and manage your life through the course of the year with respect to that bonus. You're not going to live just on your base salary. It's impractical. So you will take those holidays, you will spend on that apartment, and you will hope to get that bonus at the end of the year. Well, at the same time, Wall Street is a young person's game. The technology and the infrastructure at these banks is already built, and the value is in the seat that exists at the bank and not in the individual. What do I mean by that? Wall Street, these banks were around 50 years ago and 100 years ago, and they will be around 50 years from now and 100 years from now. So clearly, if you as the person was no longer there in that seat and someone of an equivalent background or personality and education instead was on that seat, it's not like the bank will make any less money than they were making before they hired that other person. This means there's a lot of turnover on Wall Street. There are people that lose their jobs, and not everybody is talented enough to move from a bank to a private equity or a hedge fund. Those are talent-based businesses, like the Hunger Games, not to get back to the Hunger Games analogy again and again and again, which means that not everyone rises through the ranks to become the head of a division or a head of a desk, and not everybody finds a position at a hedge fund or a private equity shop. Banks employ over 1 million people worldwide in a variety of different jobs, whereas hedge fund and private equity firms even today employ less than 50,000. Even when things are going well, invariably there will be this recession year, like the 2002 bear market, the 2008 bear market. When there is not a bear market, there will be COVID, which will also displace many of these professionals. And as these professionals lose their job, it's not always easy to immediately reinvent yourself and find the next job. So in all of these circumstances, the point I'm trying to get across is that it's a volatile job. It's a job that's not guaranteed. Compensation is year-end. There's a certain amount of management of this volatility and career path that as a spouse of that Wall Street professional, you can bring to the table and protect your family. What can you do? How many of you have seen the movie The Goodfellas from the 80s? It is about these mafia families out of Brooklyn. All they do is hang out with each other. They work with each other. The spouses hang out with the spouses of the Goodfella mafia families. At some level, Wall Street has a propensity of becoming like that. As a Wall Street family, you find yourself hanging out with other Wall Street families, talking Wall Street stuff, making Wall Street complaints, doing Wall Street shopping, hiring Wall Street help. I would encourage you as the spouse of a Wall Street family to not do that. That's my first piece of advice. Create a social structure and an infrastructure that includes the doctors, the lawyers, the teachers, and all these amazing professions that the New York City and other financial services centers of the world have to offer. It'll keep your family real, it'll keep your life real, and it'll help you identify with all these other real things that Wall Street, just like in the movie The Goodfellas, has a propensity of keeping you away from. You don't want to end up in the movie The Goodfellas. I don't want to break the ending for you if you haven't seen it already. At the end of the movie, each one of those families and the spouses either end up in jail or end up broke. That is the end of The Goodfellas. That's not what you want for yourself. The second equally important thing you can do as the spouse is to not give up your career. Do not give up your career. The propensity for you will be that my income is such a small portion of the total household income, and these 2 nanny daycare centers and these help, all these things cost so much money, I might as well save that money and not work, because that will be better value added for me to the household balance sheet. That is not true. When you're doing that job, you're creating professional expertise. You're creating longevity. You're creating knowledge that will come handy down the road if the family needs it. You cannot give up that job for 10 years and then year 11, when needed, you can just randomly find that job again. because there are other people that were doing those jobs for 10 years. How are you going to compete with them? Do not give up that job. Do not give up your professional ambition, even if it does not pay a lot of compensation in the industry that you're in today. Third, equally important thing, invest. Put some money away and invest it in something or the other. It can be a rental property, it can be the stock market, something or the other that is stable and stays in a long time. Do not use leverage. Use that to put some money away. Now, it cannot be that expensive Tribeca condo that you already own. You cannot justify to yourself that I already bought this over-levered Tribeca condo, why should I put other money away? Because when you most need that liquidity, you're not going to be offload that Tribeca condo. You're going to have a jumbo mortgage on it, which is really hard to service, and it doesn't really serve the purpose of stabilizing the ship. It only creates leverage. So I mean something away from that condo. I'm not saying that condo is a bad idea. You need a place to live. Owning is better than renting. I get it. I understand why you bought it. You know, for full disclosure, my wife and I did not follow. I wish we had followed many of these advices in hindsight. So I'm not saying any of these things are easy to do or obvious, but I promise you if you follow, if some or any of them, you will create a much more stable Wall Street career than otherwise. With those 3 points out of the way, I have a question for you. How hard is it for you as a Wall Street professional to bring down your expense rate by a flat 50%? Think about it before you answer. It's not an easy thing to accomplish, to bring down your cost of living by exact 50%. I'm going to get into that in a minute. Why do I ask the question? If you are a spouse of a family where you already find yourself in a situation where you've not done the 3 things that I suggested, and instead your spouse is between jobs and you're wondering what to do now, the first and foremost thing you have to do is to manage expectations. It is going to take a lot longer than you think for your spouse to find a job. They will lead you on to believe that it's going to take a very short amount of time. They're not lying, by the way. I don't want you to use that against them. They truly believe that. It's just that they overestimate what it is like because they are in it for the first time. They tend to convince themselves that they're different. They're different from the other generations of Wall Street professionals before them. They have more knowledge, they have more talent, they have more in-depth experience, they were doing a more important job, their bank is better known, it's a much higher brand, etc., etc., etc. Truth of the matter is, nothing is different. They're exactly the same compared to the other professionals that came before them. Just like they found it difficult, your spouse is going to find difficult as well. And don't throw up at this number that I'm about to throw at you. I know many of you will. For every 1 year of service they have done, it will take them 1 month of search to find that alternative job. So for 15 years of service, I'm talking about 18 months of a search time. Now you'll ask me, 15 years is 15 months. Why did I make it 18 months? Simply because there's holidays. Between Thanksgiving and Christmas, nobody in the world works. After Memorial Day, people who have jobs are running to the Hamptons. They don't have time to focus on interviewing and doing job search. So it'll take 18 months for 15 years of work. That's a long, long time. So let me ask you that question at the top of this section that I asked you before. How much work is it for you to cut down 50% of your expenses the minute your experienced Wall Street professional loses their job and you have not been following the other pieces of advice I gave leading up to it? It's hard, it's doable. That's what I can tell you. The big items on your balance sheet, the condo mortgage and the private schools, those are not, the condo mortgages ain't going anywhere. You cannot cut it. The bank is going to come after you for their mortgage interest and principal payments at the beginning of the month. Every year you can't do anything about it. But the private schools, I promise you, you can renegotiate. You can go to the private school headmaster and the financial aid office and let them know of your change in financial circumstances. I promise you, you've been paying tuition all these years. They will give you a cut. They may not take the entire tuition off. They will give you a discount on it until you find your bearings back. Do not be ashamed to do it. It works, happens all the time. You'll be surprised how many parents around you have already availed of such facility. Then, after that, of course, there's fat everywhere. Do you really need 4 separate Spotify accounts? One family account saves you a lot of money than those 4 separate Spotify accounts that you're currently living in. That is a trivial example, I get it, in the large balance sheet, but you have fat like that everywhere. And you can cut all of it down and you will be surprised how you will be able to cut that balance sheet down by 40 or 50% and your lifestyle will not have changed that dramatically in accomplishing that goal. Just reviewing everything I said thus far in this episode, it's hard for me not to think that I've been a little too negative with respect to Wall Street, at least in the way it comes across. So I don't want to leave with that negative tone. For one thing, I truly believe that stress is a privilege. Stress is not something that people should run away from. Any high performance job or any high performance profession, whether it's sports, NFL, a surgeon's job when she's conducting a high performance surgery, or a teacher who's teaching at Stanford or a big university, or any high performance job will have stress associated with it. But to get to that stressful job, a lot goes into getting to that point. So I would actually encourage each of you to embrace that stress and embrace that Wall Street job and those bonuses to the best of your ability in the best way you can. Because what is the point of going through life and not even having taken a shot? This job is giving you that shot, that ability to take risks. My attempt in this episode was to balance that reward with the risks that it brings. So as a family, you can hunker down and let that Wall Street job professional take that shot towards those big bonuses and success. That's all I have from Finance Dad for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I offer a consulting hour. The goal of that hour is to help you navigate those stresses and those risks, both as a family or as a Wall Street professional. So do not hesitate to use the description page below you to reach me in any way that you find convenient. At the same time, like, comment, and subscribe to my podcast because that helps me grow. Look forward to seeing you next time.